listening to Crystal Clear Lore, a Wormsong production. In the salt-crusted hamlet of Dunmere, where the cliffs hunched like old women over the gray North Sea, they spoke of Cancer only in whispers. They weren't thinking of the star sign cataloged by traveling astrologers, but the living embodiment of the sign, the great shelled crab that wore the moon on its back. Folks said it had crawled from the tide on the night the first child of Dunmere was born, drawn by the mother's cries. It did not come to devour. It came instead to cradle the child. The beast was said to be a guardian. Those born beneath its constellation, the children of Cancer, grew up wrapped in an invisible shell. These children were blessed and felt the tides in their veins, as if the moon was pulling their moods like a rope through water. They loved their homes fiercely, never straying far. Every time danger threatened the hamlet, Cancer was there, clicking in the dark, its pincers ready to close around anything that threatened its family. But protection has a price. Eleanor Marrow was the last of her line, born on a night when the moon hung swollen and silver, a perfect Cancer moon. Her mother had died in childbirth, whispering a final warning.
Never break the shell, Ellie. Never leave the house empty.
Eleanor had laughed at the stories as a girl. The old woman spoke of scuttling sounds in the attic and pale crabs washing ashore with human fingerprints pressed into their carapaces.
Children's tales,
she thought, until her father had wasted away. He had begun locking himself in the widow's walk each full moon, staring at the sea. One morning they found him curled on the floor like a molted thing, his back bent and hardened, skin flaking in chalky plates. The doctor called it a disease. The villagers called it the price. Eleanor had left, moving to the city to live with her aunt. Now 32, Eleanor had returned 15 years later. The old stone cottage smelled of mildew and low tides. She told herself she had come to sell the property, but the truth was simpler and more shameful. The city had ruined her. Relationships slipped through her fingers like sand, and apartments had never felt like home. Every night she dreamed of clicking claws and the slow, patient scrape of something enormous dragging itself across wet rocks. On her first evening back, she found her mother's box. It sat in the root cellar beneath a shroud of spider silk, a heavy wooden chest banded in corroded iron. Inside lay a single object, an enormous crab shell bleached white as bone, wide enough to cover a grown man's torso. Its surface was etched with spiraling lunar phases. When she touched it, a shiver ran through her arm, as though the shell remembered her pulse from before she was born. That night, the moon rose full and fat. Eleanor woke to the sound of water dripping inside the house. Not from the roof, from the walls. Slow, deliberate drops falling upward toward the ceiling. Bewildered, she followed the sound to the parlor, where moonlight pooled on the floorboards like spilled milk. In the center of the room sat a crab the size of a dog. Its shell glistened with the same spiraling marks like the shell in the box. Its eyes, black and wet, reflected her face twice over. It did not scuttle away. It raised one massive claw in what might have been a greeting. Eleanor's scream died in her throat when the creature spoke. It didn't use sound, but memory instead. Images flooded her mind, some real, some that were impossible. Her mother rocking her as an infant, singing lullabies while something vast and armored moved beneath the floor. Her father, young and strong, cutting his palm and letting the blood drip into the tide so the Cancer would know its child. Generations of Marrows feeding the guardian small offerings, lost teeth, first blood, stillborn things, until the beast grew fat on their devotion. "You left me," the memory whispered. "The shell grew thin." She fled upstairs and barricaded herself in her childhood bedroom. The clicking followed. Not loud, patient, like fingernails on a cradle. For 3 nights, the visitation repeated. Each time, the crab appeared larger. On the next night, it wore her father's wedding ring around one antenna. On the third, It dragged behind it the tattered remains of her mother's shawl, soaked in seawater and something darker. Eleanor tried to leave at dawn, but every road out of Dunmere curved back toward the cottage. The villagers watched her with pitying eyes. Old Mrs. Gower pressed a pouch of dried rosemary and iron nails into her hand.
You can't outrun your own blood, lass. Cancer only wants what it was promised.
On the fourth night, the moon began to wane. Eleanor hoped that the creature's power ebbed with it. She armed herself with a rusted harpoon from her father's wall and descended into the root cellar. The great shell still rested in its chest, glowing faintly. She raised the harpoon. The crab was waiting behind her. It had grown. Its body filled the cellar stairs, legs braced against stone, claws raised like cathedral doors. Moonlight from the open hatch painted its shell in silver. For the first time, Eleanor saw its underside, pale and soft, vulnerable, lined with hundreds of tiny, human-like mouths that whispered in her mother's voice, her father's voice, voices of ancestors she had never met. They sighed. Let us protect you again. She struck without hesitation. The harpoon glanced off with a sound like breaking bells. The crab surged forward, faster than anything that size should move. One claw closed around her ankle, not crushing, but holding, gentle, possessive. She felt her bones soften. Her skin began to calcify. The transformation was not violent. It was loving and caring. Cancer was not devouring her. It was making her part of its shell, the way it had done with everyone who grew too distant or too fragile. To her credit, Eleanor fought back. She drove the harpoon into one of the soft mouths beneath the creature. Black brine sprayed across her face. The whispering became screaming, as if every generation of her family was crying out in betrayal. The crab shuddered as its grip tightened. At that moment, she understood. It did not hate, but loved too well. It loved so completely that it could not let its children grow beyond the reach of its claws. The shell was safe, yes, but safety that imprisons. Safety that hardens around the heart until the person inside becomes nothing but soft meat wearing armor. The Guardian had kept the Marrows alive through plagues and wars and shipwrecks, but at the cost of their freedom. They had become a family of beautiful, empty shells, washed up on the same tide. With the last of her strength, Eleanor smashed the great shell in the chest. The artifact cracked like an egg. From within spilled seawater and moonlight. As it ruptured, the faint cries of every child the cancer had ever protected rang out. The giant crab convulsed. Its legs folded inward and the black eyes dulled. As the creature died, Eleanor felt something inside her own chest crack open. It wasn't painful. It felt more like a door, long sealed, had finally opened. The calcification receded from her ankle. She could move again. Eleanor crawled up the cellar stairs as the moon slipped behind clouds. Behind her, the crab's body began to dissolve into thousands of ordinary shore crabs that scattered across the floor and out into the night, seeking new homes. Dawn found Eleanor on the cliffs above Dunmere. The sea was calm. In her hands, she held the largest fragment of the broken Guardian shell, a piece no bigger than her palm, etched with a single crescent moon. She turned it over, feeling its weight. Then she hurled it into the waves. As it sank, she felt the tide inside her settle for the first time in her life. No more pulling. No more hollow ache for a home that had become a prison. Cancer was gone, and with it, the curse of perfect, terrible protection. As she turned to leave Dunmere forever, Eleanor heard the faintest sound carried on the wind. The distant, patient clicking of many small claws climbing the cliffs behind her. It sounded like hundreds of them. They were searching for the new mother who had freed them. She walked faster. The road still curved, but this time she did not look back. In Dunmere, they still speak of cancer. Only now the stories end differently. They say that on certain waning moons, You can see a woman walking the cliffs with 1,000 tiny crabs following at a respectful distance. They never touched her, but they never left her either. Instead, they waited for her to come home. They say she never does. The stories also say she is the first marrow in 400 years to die with her own soft heart, still beating inside her chest.
Welcome back to Crystal Clear Lore. I'm Crystal Lance, and once again, I am joined by my co-host / producer, Brady.
Hello again.
We are on to our next zodiac sign, and this is my sign, Cancer. So it's not just what we think of when we say Cancer. Everyone has the one thing they think of, but it's actually a Latin word, and it means crab, which makes sense because Cancer is represented by the crab.
So why is the medical ailment called cancer then?
So Cancer also can mean from like the Greek to scratch. And I'm thinking it has to be somehow tied into that.
Okay, I'm not putting it together here.
I wasn't either, because it comes from the Greek word Karkinos, meaning like crab or crawfish. Apparently, the physicians like, oh my gosh, Hippocrates. Anyway, ancient
Hippocrates?
That one. My brain was not working. Used it because the swollen veins and finger-like projections of spreading tumors kind of resemble the legs and claws of a crab digging into the sand.
I wouldn't know.
I thought it was weird too. At the end of the day, it's always crabs. We all have crabs. So Cancer is represented by the crab because we are known for our hard outer shell, but we always have like emotional squishy insides. And it's unfortunately a little too true. Cancers are highly intuitive, empathetic, sensitive, and caring, but we have a different side of us too, where we will completely cut people off and tend to be shockingly violent when we need to. Most of those needs revolve around our home and families because both of those are extremely important to a Cancer and will like remain their highest priority. They don't ever really travel much. They kind of just vibe in the same area where they grew up. Sometimes they go out and about, but they usually they find their home and that's their home and they vibe in their home.
I guess kind of like a real crab.
Kind of, yeah. Crabs don't travel too much. Some do, but not a lot.
I don't know. I feel like they travel a lot, actually. The hermit crab, and they're always going in the ocean. And how far do they go up on the beach?
It depends. They always come back to their, like, there's that whole island where they have a bunch of crabs that breed, but it's always the same island. It's like specifically this one season. Like there's signs on it and stuff because it's just littered with crabs.
Yeah, I don't really know a lot about crabs except for the dance song.
Oh, this song's great. Cancer season is June 21st to July 22nd, so we are fully in Cancer season. Their ruling planet is not really the planet, it is the moon. So their ruling celestial body is the moon. And they can be just as ever-changing as the moon is in the night sky. Emotions ebb and flow just like the moon does. And our symbol is 69 because, well, there's several reasons why it's 69 other than nice. To represent crab claws, or the duality of the lunar cycles. But sometimes, people have thought maybe it's boobs because motherhood.
I'm still not putting any of these together. None of this makes sense.
It's weird. It's the weirdest sign I've researched so far.
It might be the most broken analogy or whatever the hell they were going for.
I don't know the 69 how it looks like boobs. If your boobs look like 69, please go seek medical help.
I think someone just made that up.
I guess I was thinking like, yin yang sign, right? So I kind of got that idea from it, but I was like, well, that doesn't even make sense either, though.
Well, the ebb and the flow thing, I guess, the two opposing forces.
Yeah.
It still doesn't make any sense.
It's very weird. This was a very weird one.
Well, who got to decide the symbols for these?
I don't know. They come from the Greeks. This one is heavily Greek.
They're too busy playing with themselves.
Like they saw 69 went nice and then moved on with their life. Like that's what happened.
I guess so.
But Cancer, this one actually fits. Cancer is a water sign. That does fit. It is the cardinal water sign. And it's a cardinal sign because it kicks off summer, since June 21st is usually Litha, or the summer solstice, or midsummer, which we did a whole episode on a few episodes ago. Cardinal signs, a little bit of a reminder, they are usually ambitious leaders who can kick things off, and they're like the ignition switch, right? They get it going. Water signs are more feelers of the zodiac. A lot of people will say, well, I think. Cancers especially usually start their sentences with, I feel. Like, well, I feel like this is what's happening. Or this is how it feels to me. Very much so. They are very feeling based. They usually do make a lot of decisions based off their emotion and intuition instead of logic. I don't use logic much when making decisions. I usually sit there and be like, well, this feels like the right path, so that's what we're going to do. But cancers are known. So everybody kind of has like their own little, I would say archetype, right? Because the last one we did was Gemini, and they were kind of the chatterboxes, the social butterflies of the zodiac. Cancers are the mothers, even the men. And they don't mean like mothers in the physical sense. They mean being tied to the mother archetype. So yes, mothers are very warm and nurturing. They're also very protective as well. And so it's kind of both sides, that duality is kind of where we think some of that 69 and that duality kind of ebbs into. This can, however, be a little bit disastrous for a Cancer because if they're not careful, they'll get so protective they can get overbearing and a little bit controlling. If you're like me and you're a Cancer, watch out for that. It can happen. Usually not too much, but it happens. The origin of Cancer is mostly Greek. I was shocked. It's a minor Greek character. It's not even like a major Greek character. Like Castor and Pollux in Gemini had like a whole bunch of stories. Maybe they were one of the big players, but they were pretty decent sized like players in the Greek mythology. Cancer shows up as a side character in one Greek myth.
I can see where Marvel got their inspiration.
Yeah, fair enough. So in the Greek myths, Karkinos, or Cancer, was a giant crab that lived in the lagoon of Lerna, which was near the east coast south of Argos in Greece. Karkinos is a secondary character. He only shows up in the 12 labors of Heracles and attacks Heracles on Hera's orders while he is fighting the Hydra. That's it. Heracles is fighting the Hydra. Hera's like, hey, go fuck him up. The crab comes out of the water and tries to attack Heracles' feet while he's like, trying to throw the hero off balance. And then Heracles just stomps the crab to death. That's literally the whole basis of this entire... Mine is so lame. I have the lamest Greek story so far.
Not about lamest, but shortest.
I'm like, man, after the Gemini episode, I was so excited for this because it was so long. I was like, I learned all this cool stuff. I was like, yeah. So he shows up for like 30 seconds, tries to get Heracles' feet, and then Heracles is like, bitch, stop, and stomps it to death. The end. It's only made a constellation because Hera was like, you know what, buddy, you tried. Let's pop you in the stars.
I think that he was like a last minute bottom of the barrel pick.
Yay. Even the Mesopotamian one was really short too. So in Mesopotamia, Cancer was represented by a turtle or a tortoise instead of a crab. And it was this turtle that pushed the sun across the sky. So a reminder that they really tied that with the sun because Cancer starts on the summer solstice. But the interesting thing is like, yes, Cancer starts the summer solstice, longest day of the year. It's also considered a dark sign in Mesopotamian lore. So the constellation itself is really faint and one of the hardest to see. I have actually never been able to find the Cancer.
I've literally never seen a single constellation but the Big Dipper and Orion's Belt.
Well, I look because like I'll take out like a constellation map and I'll try to look and I can't find it easily. It's really hard.
I have stared endlessly at those full sky maps because we can't get the full night sky here because of the light pollution.
Yeah.
I can't see any of those fucking constellations unless they're drawn out clearly.
They're weird.
Not a single one except for easy ones like Orion's Belt and the Dippers.
Well, and sometimes they're weird. Like I would think, because like the Dippers are part of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, and I always forget that they're bears.
I don't even know more than a few of them because I can't find them.
It's a very complicated thing.
And it doesn't matter even if I could because I would literally have to travel like 1,000 miles away to somewhere there's not fucking light pollution.
No, it's so bad. It definitely ruins it.
The only place I've ever been that didn't have light pollution was the middle of fucking Arizona.
Ooh, you have too many stories.
That was this story.
Oh, that's it.
Wow, the sky. It looks just like the pictures.
Aw, also been like a big story.
It was cool. You could see the satellites a little more clear. And yeah, it looks just like the pictures.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's great. I don't know what else to say about it because I can't. There's no words for it. You have to see it. You have to feel it. You have to be there.
That's fair.
But so find 1,000 miles away from you and go find out where you can see the stars. And if you live in a place where you can see the stars, cool.
Lucky.
Must be nice driving an hour and a half to get to work.
So the constellation, going back to the Cancer's constellation, is very faint, very hard to see, right? It is not a bright constellation. Hera couldn't even give that to the guy. Poor dude. So the Mesopotamians considered it to be associated with the secrets of life and death, human knowledge, and the underworld. I don't know. They found more Sumerian and Babylonian records that also link Cancer with the water and fertility, which I thought was kind of cool because it's a water sign, so that was like the link there, and then fertility because it's a sign of the mother. And who's more fertile than a mom? So moving down to the next hunk of lore about the background of the Zodiac.
So really quick, have you looked into, I know this is a bit obscure, but this is because of my brain. Have you looked into what stars make up the constellation or what galaxies or whatever the hell it is? I mean, it's confusing.
So you want like Cancer's constellation?
Is there names for or is it just a bunch of stupid numbers? And this is Jogligar P24789-48Q P. You know how star names are?
Yes. No, unfortunately, they are not great. So
you know that star naming service?
They're not good.
Eventually someone will have, people will have bought all the names and then they won't be those stupid number names.
They're not good.
Though some of them are going to be like, this is Clark star number 844 because there's a lot of Clarks who bought a star. And this one's Star Wars number 84 because a lot of people thought it would be funny to name a star Star Wars.
So Cancer hosts the Beehive cluster, which is one of the brightest and closest open star clusters to Earth.
The Beehive cluster?
The Beehive cluster.
We're going to go mine the honey?
Its number is M44.
Not a long one, at least.
No, these ones
some of them are M44 and some of them are QTPLMNOZ.
Kind of
44444447.
It kind of looks like a Y. The constellation itself kind of looks like a stick figure without any arms. I wish I was kidding. I'm actively not kidding. Like, it is literally a stick figure, no arms. That's what it looks like.
Nice.
It's not the most...
It's a crab pincher.
Yeah.
Real, this feels like it's thrown together.
Look, I was so excited.
It should have been a platypus.
Perry the platypus?
Just because it's thrown together. They just threw together all the missing pieces of Zodiacs into Cancer.
Well, okay, so...
Just to make the story work.
It's really bad. The Greeks called it a crab, Mesopotamians called it a turtle, and the Egyptians called it a dung beetle. Okay? Like, I don't know what to tell you. In the Kemetic Dendera Zodiac, Cancer is represented by a scarab, which is a dung beetle. The scarab beetle was associated with the god Khepri, who pushed the sun across the sky, and he's also associated with creation itself.
It makes sense because they thought the sun was round, and they're like, hey, this thingy pushes this round thingy.
Exactly. Like, it's like, oh, the scarabs are pushing the round thing. It's probably how the sun gets through. Like, the logic is there. It's just...
There must be some giant, invisible, godlike dung beetle in the sky pushing the fucking boiling sun across the horizon.
Yeah, that's true. There's not much to this because a lot of the Dendera Zodiac doesn't have a lot of stories around it just because of, being 5,000 years old. But scarabs also do represent immortality, rebirth, and transformation, which I thought was like, oh, cool. The transformation's kind of cool and the rebirth because you got that duality again. But it's very strange because that's all I could find on it. And then I was like, okay, well, usually the Nords have something weird, right? The last three, the Nords are the weird one out. There's nothing. There's nothing for the Nordics. I could not believe there was no Nordic lore about the Cancer constellation. It's nothing. I don't know. I was shocked. I could not believe that was the one that was like, nope, you get nothing. Cool. Thanks. My poor people, we get a minor reference in 3. And then the 4th one that I usually research was like, nah, nothing. I'm getting nothing.
Just a little overlooked.
We're just in the corner, guys.
Did you mention the birthday range yet for the Cancer?
Yes. June 21st to July 22nd. So
that's a crazy... America is a Cancer.
There's a lot of questions.
I thought of that.
Yes.
Because our big birthday's coming up.
It's a big one.
This is going to date the episode, but the big 250, we're recording only a couple weeks away from it.
That's true, yeah.
So,
that is crazy.
Yeah, America's a Cancer, I guess. Whatever that means.
It means something.
You guys can ponder on that. We're not going to do an episode about that. We could... That wouldn't be a one for us, but hey.
We should do something about some of the symbolism or something. Like, America's a weird place to live. I'm going to be real with you.
Well, that's more of a cultural kind of thing. That'd be great for a cultural podcast, compared the actual country's archetype to Cancer. But
we talk about why some of the symbols behind America or something.
I'd love to do it, but I didn't take any notes. That one just came to me.
We'll see if you remember. That's going to be the real key.
Nope.
So to summarize, Cancer is represented by the crab, and it is the cardinal water sign. It is the sign of the mother, and Cancers are both very nurturing and empathetic, but they will also protect their family and homes viciously. It has been represented by other creatures in different times, like dung beetles and tortoises. It's been even associated with creation and death. And somehow it has a foot in both those realms comfortably. I was very confused by the lack of information that I found. I found so much for the other 3. But I will say, understanding like how my birth of Zodiac, right, my sun sign has been highly like, oh, well, it's because this is my sun and my ascending sign. This is 2. I got cancer going on. Lots of cancer.
I'm really glad everybody knows that we're talking about the Zodiac.
Fair. Like I do my screenings. But because of their like duality with like creation and death, right, and like nurturing, but also like viciousness, I kind of like came to it like I had an epiphany during the research, because we talked about in the segment episode a few months back, right, that she's my patron goddess. She's the god of healing and the god of war, and she cures plagues and she causes plagues. And all of a sudden I went, oh, it makes all the sense why she's my patron goddess now. Anyway, can we have a moment of silence for poor Brady, because poor Brady has to be married to me. But he chose it, so short moment of silence. You chose this life.
That was a pretty long moment of silence. I feel like that was more for you.
No, I'm more pity you. Trust me, we'll have a long moment of silence when we get to yours. I'm going to tell everyone all the things. But I do want your opinion as someone that probably shouldn't have, but did anyway, marry a Cancer. And we've been together almost 9 years now. You make bad choices. How is it being in a relationship with someone whose moods change on a dime and a whim?
I didn't want to say anything. It's exactly how you'd imagine I would answer this question while locked in a closet with one.
That's what I thought.
I will say no more.
What's funny is the next sign is my moon sign. I'm a big hot mess. That's what I've learned. And I would feel bad, but I looked at my star chart and went, oh, wow, it's cool. Not great, but there it is. So I think as much as I ever could make Cancer, at least the Zodiac, not the disease, as clear as I can, I think this is as good as we're going to get, unfortunately. Because, man, there's no information. We got shoehorned in there and given nothing but a pat in the head and maybe a piece of chocolate.
So just use your imagination.
I was so disappointed.
It looks like this time, folks, you have to make Cancer crystal clear.
Bye.
Bye.
Follow us on Threads and Insta at Wormsong Media. That's WYRMSONG Media. Want to reach out to us? Email us at wormsongmedia@gmail. Again, that's WYRMSONGMEDIA@gmail.